Hi, Philando Rivera here, joined by my wife Jill. We're going to give you an update on Market Leaderboard game. The development process. This is the third update, probably the final one too, Jill, because we're going to go live in just a minute here.
Oh, I can't wait. I don't know much about this type of uh, game, but I absolutely adore it, and I'm so hooked.
Well, I mean, you're the perfect audience for this conversation, right? Because, um, here, let me introduce you, right? You're a former clinical dietitian manager. You have a master's degree. Right, you're a dog enthusiast. You have lovely dogs and two beautiful sons, but technology's not your thing, right?
No, and I've never played the stock market either, and I've always wanted to, but I'm at a point in my life where I wish my kids, I know my kids are very enthusiastic about to learn about this and to practice if they do go into it to
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, that's why you're participating in this conversation because you're the ideal person to test this out with, right? So I developed this game. It took me long. We'll talk more about the development process, but I developed the game for people like you, right? People who just they want to do something hobby, right? That they have time on their hands. They want to play a digital game. Right now, there's one or two games that you like to use, and plus this game that I'm developing. But you're not a technical person, and that's why I brought you into this conversation to see how you interact with the game, to get your opinion on it, to see how easy it is to use or how difficult, and to just get your comments and thoughts in general about what it's like to use the game.
well, the beauty of this game is that it can be for a 10-year-old or it can be to a retired person, that 10-year-olds obviously they're very tech savvy.
Right.
I know my son,
They're kind
he's
of natural at it, right? They're
yeah,
sort of born in that time where
yes.
those tools were abundant. And so at even as early as 10-year-old, like you said, they were already comfortable with using tools like this.
And it gives them a future, experience.
Right.
And then older people that maybe aren't playing the stock market anymore, they miss it. And I have a 23-year-old son that helped you with the technology. I mean, not that you needed help, but he gave a lot of
Yeah.
input. So
Well,
it's
yeah.
10,
Yeah.
23, and 80-year-olds.
Yeah, let's talk about that actually. So there's a development process, and I use a lot of AI. I use ChatGPT to help me generate the code, and I use another artificial intelligence tool to help me even create the artwork behind the cards in the game. But I also observed your Luke play the game, and I learned a lot from watching Luke. And there are parts of the game that come from watching him play, and we'll talk about that. So the types of players and the tax card is a result of watching Luke play and how he interacted with the game and where he was on the leaderboard, which is really the point of the game. Anyway, we'll go over that, the user interface updates, the upcoming features, and the launch date. A little bit about me, the tools that I used to like to work on. Kind of, they seem different in a game, right? But really, they have a lot in common. They're tools that people needed to use, and I got a chance to use my expertise and my passion for programming to develop those tools. And so this is just one more, right? This is like number four on that list. Reasons for developing the market leader game um, specifically were to create it just as something fun to use, right? And something that was visually appealing and intuitive, challenging mentally, so I wanted to create that environment with this game, and I think I accomplished that. You'll see that. And I wanted to use artificial intelligence to sharpen my skills in programming, and I did that with ChatGPT, a generative artificial intelligence tool that actually creates code, and a lot of the code that is used for this game came from that
Well, you,
process.
you, you you shouldn't reduce yourself because you did so much code. It wasn't chat. You use them as a resource to do the code.
Well, that's a good point, Joe. That is a very good point. I did have skills in programming, but what I didn't have, I had no familiarity at all with Python, which is a programming language that I use to develop the tool. And the reason I use Python is because it's just good at web interfaces and interfacing with databases and doing that in between work, right? Processing the database, getting the data, and then handing it off to the HTML and JavaScript that'll show that to you on the web page. But before this project, I knew nothing at all about Python. And so ChatGPT filled that knowledge gap and generated a lot of the code for me. And I learned Python in the process because the output from ChatGPT isn't always clean, right? It gives you sample code that you will then have to go in and clean up and adjust somewhat for your specific purpose. But I did learn a lot about that language in the process.
Well, I know at your background, I see it on the screen. You work for a private sector company, and you did a lot of work for NATO. You did all of the cybersecurity for them and storage for them.
Yeah, I mean, some of the storage, I don't know, the storage, of course, comes with security. But yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about the game itself.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I played it all night. I got no sleep last night. When you downloaded it on my phone and then you gave me the tutorial because I didn't know where to press. And you're like, it's very easy. And it is very easy.
It is, and there's just four basic things about the game. Number one, you start with 500,000 game dollars
Oh, I spent all that.
to buy and sell shares in 11 different companies. Now, what differentiates this game from other simulators that are out there is that the cards accelerate time in terms of fluctuations in price of the stock, of the shares of the companies that are in the game. The cards accelerate fluctuation in price that would take years on Wall Street to evolve. Right?
Yeah, no, I love that. And it made me, I really was like, I shouldn't be playing this game. I don't know how to play this game. You made it so easy for me.
Thank you.
And there are a lot of kids that are gonna love it because they already know it. And you know, we have young children that seriously, you always say I'm not the PC guy, but you are the PC guy.
Yeah, and you know what other conversation we had too, Jill, that's kind of more relevant to this is that really what is this game, right? And number 4 point there is I think is what this game is about. Is
Strategy.
use strategy so that you can get to the top of the list, which is the imagery that I have here. The game comes with an interface that shows you who the top 12 performers are. And so I think it's almost human instinct, right? That when you see a list of top performers, that you see yourself on top of that list.
Right.
And that you try to do whatever, you develop whatever strategy you need to get to the top of that list. And really, that's what this game is about. Is it more educational than sort of a challenge that way and a mental exercise to develop a strategy to get there? Or is it educational? What do you think?
I think it's both.
Okay, explain that answer, please.
Educational for the younger people that don't know the stock market, and
Okay.
they should know it. I, you know, I learned a lot about the stock market. We don't need it because we're all invested
Right.
at this point in our lives. And then you have, yeah, and then
So you learn a little bit about the stock market
a lot of it.
and so that part of it's educational. And then it's a little bit of a game
It's
because the
strategy.
time acceleration component of it is not real life, right? That's a game.
No, I like
And
I like the time element.
yeah, and in 5 minutes, really, you go through price fluctuations that would take years and years in the real world, which is, I think, what differentiates this from a simulator. A simulator gives you game dollars, and we have that in common. And a simulator lets you invest in stock and helps you develop strategy about the best time to buy and the best time to sell, right? You develop those strategies so that you can make money. And that way, a simulator and a game have a lot in common. What's different is in a simulator, you have to wait real world time to see if you've made the right decisions,
Exactly.
right?
And we are at a certain phase in our life where we've already done all this stuff, but I like to do it again with just this idea of, it's simulated.
Exactly. So anyway, let's talk about development process. That's the point of the game. Let's get to the top of the list. There's a time acceleration component that where the stock prices are inflated over a period of time in a very fast period of time in this game. And the point of it is to get to the top of that leaderboard. So what
Oh,
about
the
the develop?
leaderboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
What about artificial intelligence? We already talked a little bit about that. I'm just showing examples here of how I interacted with ChatGPT on the left. So where it says you, Jill, that's where I entered the question, right?
I can't
In
read that.
ChatGPT,
I can't read
and
my
then
glasses.
ChatGPT immediately, I mean within seconds, comes back with not only a very detailed response to the answer, but sample code that I can cut and paste and then include it and integrate with the rest of my code. Right?
I don't think people realize how much code this took you.
It's a lot of code, thousands of lines of code.
Oh my
But
gosh, you've
you'll
been,
see that.
yeah.
And then the other really cool artificial intelligence tool that I used was for artwork.
Yes.
This frame comes from. Can you read that in the bottom? Anyway, you can see that as
Uh-huh.
when you view the video, and
Yeah,
they will get the appropriate
I like
credit.
the visuals.
They will get the appropriate credit for, I think that says pageborder.org. So if you wanted borders for your pages, you can go to that website and get yours. I got this one from pageborder.org. So I use that as a border. But the artwork within the border, that is original artificially intelligence generated artwork.
Yeah.
All I had to do, the same as I typed in here to get the code, all I had to do was type a description of the artwork that I wanted, which in this particular case was a trade agreement between China and the United States. As you can imagine, something like that would have an effect on the stock market. So I do have a card for that. But the artwork itself was generated, it's original work, and I use that in the development process for this game.
Well, candidly, people are afraid of artificial intelligence, but it does have a purpose in our life. It's like text messaging,
Well,
you know?
that's a very interesting comment, and I was going to go in sequence. We're almost finished with the slides, and I'm going to go into the demo of the
Okay.
game in a second
Oh, I
and
love it.
actually show you the interfaces, right? But that's an interesting comment. I was going to save this slide for later, but I'm going to bring it up now, not that you mentioned that, right? And so the question that I'm asking here is artificial intelligence technical or philosophical? Again, I bet you would say both.
Well, I remember years ago when we were in Europe and AI was coming out, and you talked about how AI now has their own language.
Yeah. What we talked about, I think what you're referring to is that Apple Labs incident
Right.
where they were creating web bots to go out and negotiate best price for buying an item. And part of the instruction for the web bot was to do it as fast as possible. What they didn't know as an outcome of that, the web bots had access to a lot of data to make that instruction possible. And what they wound up doing was creating their own language.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. And this game, it needs a component of AI.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, the component of AI that I was talking about was in like generative, right?
Hmm.
Was in creating the tool. Is there AI in the tool itself? I don't think so. I think there's really good conditional
No, you were
programming.
just talking about
Yeah, I don't have AI in the tool yet. Maybe future versions of this game will have it, where I'll have a bot or something like that.
but you didn't
Where
need it to create it.
no, I didn't need it. In this version of the tool for
It's not going to
the
take you
rules that
over.
no, the rule it is not. It is not going to take you. Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
So in standard programming, right, you have not AI in the way that I use this tool. You have a format, right, a syntax where you have variable value that comes from a function. And if you need to, you pass arguments to that function to process and bring back that variable value. As an example, in the game that I use here, I need a variable value, which is new cash balance. When you sell something or when you buy something,
Oh yeah, I had
your
so
cash
much fun
holdings
with
are
this.
going to automatically update. So what I need to go get that value, and I have a function called cash balance increase when I sell, right?
Uh-huh.
And the argument that I want to pass to it are dollars, assuming dollars are price per share times number of shares. I
Right.
pass that argument to that function and it brings back a new balance. That is not artificial intelligence.
No,
Right?
that's you.
That is
That's Rolando
standard
Rivera
and appropriate. Right?
intelligence.
But when we talk about artificial intelligence, sometimes we talk about is it sentient, is it self-aware,
Yeah.
and we also think about
Self-aware, yeah.
is it emotive? Can it actually can software evoke an emotion? Right. And so as a gamer, you have to say yes to that last question.
Right.
Because your software is all
Correct.
about getting an emotional response. So in this particular case, right, what are the emotional responses that I want to go get? I want you to feel stress, maybe. I want you to feel excitement that you're about to achieve something. I want you to feel ambition. I want to get to the top of the leaderboard, and I want you to feel a challenge, that there's a particular way that you have to play to get there. So those are all of the things that I want you to feel. I think Jill is not happy with the word stress. It's more of a negative, right? Give me your commentary on that, though, please.
Stress. I like excitement. I definitely like ambition, and I definitely like challenge. Stress.
Is an
Um.
emotion that you do not want to evoke, I think is what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say
All right.
that.
Well, then
Yes,
think
I
of
would say.
this as a value that you can pass to that variable. And stress is one of those values that you would not want to pass there.
Okay, so
Okay.
we're gonna try to get away from the stress, and
Yeah, yeah.
that I like
Yeah.
because that goes to the last one, that is challenge.
Yeah.
Your challenge is
Right.
not to be stressed out. You want to be
Exactly.
excited and you want to have
I
ambition.
love that input. Thank you. Thank you. And so to the last of this point, and then I'll jump into the demo. Um, the philosophical questions about AI, is it sentient and emotive, or is it just really effective conditional programming? Maybe I don't know, maybe it's all three. Is it dangerous? I
No,
don't know if it is or not. I think
you're not.
if you're responsible about it, right? And that's what those organizations are about now for AI legislation. I think maybe that's important in this particular, for this particular technology, right? What do you think?
Is another word I don't like, is dangerous. But you know what? You know what's dangerous about this? I played it all last night and didn't get 1 minute of sleep.
Okay, thanks for saying that anyway, Joe. So why, I don't know if you remember Y2K, I'm referring to the year 2000.
Of course.
And the year 2000, everybody was making a big deal about all the computer systems were going to crash.
Yeah, everything. Stock
when
market.
the year rolls to 0, 0. And so is this kind of the same sort of thing? Maybe not. Maybe there's a real um, possibility that the technology can be used in the wrong way or unlegislated. It can cause some real problems. Maybe so.
Well, maybe,
Uh,
maybe that's the second
yeah, but
wave
I'm
of
wondering.
this.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's just a lot of hype.
No, I think you're gonna
What,
have a second
what
wave of this.
anyway, let's go into the demo. I think I did miss. Did I miss one? Maybe not. Oh, this is important. I did want to go over this. There's two types of players. There's number one, there's a strategist, and number two, there's a machine gunner. Okay. The strategist is gonna trade based on, things about trading stock. What was the percent change in the value of that stock? Should I buy it if it's at a good price point? Should I sell if that's a profitable thing for me to do? And in this particular case, for this game, there are certain aspects or nuances about the interface that make it easier or more complicated to trade. And so you'll learn that as you use the game and you'll develop a strategy around it. And so that's one type of player. And then the other type of player is the player that'll buy once at the beginning when they start the game, and then they'll sit there and machine gun and hit that button multiple times, and they'll get time accelerated inflation, and they'll sell once, right? And so with those just two transactions, they will make much more money in this game unchecked than the person who's actually thinking about it and developing a strategy. So I came up with a tax card, which is the image on top, that will make that difficult to do. And that tax card, this is actually a drawing in the Library of Congress describing the policies that came out of Henry George, I think it was, who developed the land tax.
Right.
Right. And actually there is a board game that was developed to prove whether or not that was a good thing.
Well, you know, there are only two things in life, and one's taxes.
Right. And the other thing is you are going to hit this tax card once, at least once every 27 tries.
Yeah.
There's 27 cards, and one of the cards in the deck is the tax card. And if all you ever do is press the button, you're just going to reduce your cash holdings until it gets to zero. And you're not going to beat this guy who actually thought about, you know, the best way to win the game.
So let's talk about interaction. Do you
Okay,
have that?
let's do that. Yeah, let's bring it up.
If people
So I
play
have a
together.
I have a couple examples. There's number one here. There's a user called TMT, and he's already reached $892,000. What happened there? Did you hit something?
I
You
didn't
did.
touch anything.
You did. Okay.
It went off.
Okay. No, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, 892,000, and he is where now? He is on the no. He is just shy of the leaderboard. There's one person, number 3 above him. And then I do have that player as well. And I wanted to show maybe one player overcoming another and then updating the leaderboard as a way to show the best, as the best way to show the interface. I could go here and start from the beginning, and maybe I'll do that. I'll log in as me, right?
I think I'm on the number one. Remember, I was
You were
upset
at
that I
one
was
point.
number
You,
two.
you were at one point.
I was
You were up
playing
there.
it
And then
like
as I went through test cycles, the other people that I logged in as surpassed that one.
oh, you don't have to
session.
say that.
Okay, so here's a couple of updates on the user interface. If I hit current stock now, I can see all of the stock prices. This just happens to be the starting stock price for all of the companies in the game, and you can see that there. Then you pick a card right here. That's a card will come up. Here's original artwork again that was generated with an AI tool, and there's a 3-line description. What this happens? Okay, let's dig into why that artwork, right? What is this artwork, right? This shows a lot of disgruntled employees.
Okay, gotcha.
Right? That's what the artwork is. And so what does it say? It says union successfully negotiates higher wages for Amazon. That's a true story, right?
Of course.
Amazon employees unionized, right?
Mhm.
Is that affecting Amazon price point, right? Or Amazon stock price? Absolutely, right? So the card dealer sends you a message about that card, and that's automatic right here. And also your cash holdings, any changes to your cash holdings are automatic. But it says here it may be a good time to buy Amazon. And so let's do that, right? Let's buy 1,000 shares of Amazon. I'll pick 1,000 right there. It automatically updates my cash holdings, and it gives me a message about that transaction. And it automatically updates my portfolio and see the stocks that I own. So that's what happens there. We draw another card. There's the tax card. So you see I went from 400,000
Let's
to
see
318.
what it says
Yeah.
after you get taxed.
Yeah, so it says, Rolando, I had to reduce your cash holdings by 20% to pay taxes. So I went from 400 to 318. If you never trade or you only trade once, and you're expecting if I click 1,000 times, I'm going to get time advanced inflated price to sell. It's not going to happen. You're going to lose it all. You're going to get to zero on your cash holdings, and when you get to zero on the cash holdings, the game is going to sell your stock at cost. You're not going to get any profit for it, and it's going to use that to pay the taxes until you get to zero, and then there's nothing to do left in the game.
Okay, so this is very educational for people that don't realize about.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Eventually, if you try to play that way, right? You actually have to
Very
read the card.
educational.
You have to read the card and determine, well, right here it says it's a good time to sell. So that's a Pfizer. It increased the price on Pfizer. And we can see it. Pfizer, it tells you right here, it went from 32.69 to 41.84. It increased it. So you don't want to buy now because that's enough. That's a Pfizer went up in price. So you don't want to buy at that point. You want to buy when Pfizer goes down. Right. So I hit pick a point again.
I mean, anybody
Oh,
that's,
there's a wild card.
okay,
Everything in the book changes now,
yeah.
right? Everything goes down by 15%. And I can show you that now. If I update stock prices here, everything changes. Everything is now down by 15%. I can see Amazon, I bought it at 102. Amazon's down to 86 now. All right, so that's it. That's really what I wanted to show you. I can show you the sell, how you sell. Let's say I wanted to sell 500 shares of Amazon, I would just pick 500, sell, and there it is. I sold, my cash holdings automatically increase. I get an update on what just transacted there. I update portfolio. It reduces the total. I'm done.
But here's the thing, people that are sophisticated with the stock market, they know about the taxes, but these kids that are gonna play it, like they need to know the whole picture
Yeah,
of
they'll say
playing the
they'll play it
stock.
once that way, and they'll
Yeah,
say, "Oh, I can't win like that," and then they'll try a different
but I'm
approach.
saying
Yeah,
it's very educational and very
yeah.
strategic.
To me, it's strategic one, and we just talked about reasons why, and it's educational because some of these things are relevant, right? What happens if an airline brings on a new foreign partner? Well, that's really good for the stock, and that might affect the price. So these things I pulled from both ChatGPT and from Yahoo Finance. So I went through some of the actual quarterly reports for the different companies, and I looked at what made their prices go up. I went back to quarterly reports where their stock prices spiked or went down, and I pulled out verbiage from there to include in the game for a reason in the game why price went up and down. So in that way, yeah, it's a little bit educational. Making money, of course, is fun for everybody, and getting to the top of that leaderboard is even more fun.
Well, I think that's terrific. But what I was making about the taxes thing, I like that you included that because people don't realize you're not getting all of it.
Yeah.
The government is
Yeah,
getting
you're
it,
gonna
some
have
of
to
it.
pay. Anyway, with that, I think we'll finish, Jill. Really nice job. It was nice to include you
Oh,
in the
I
update.
love this
And
whole journey.
yeah, and I think we're gonna go live here pretty soon. I mean, the code I think is finished.
People are gonna love
I'm
it.
gonna put it on there's a hosting web hosting facility that's provisioning for us now.
Well, we'll
I'm
have a
gonna move
party
all,
at home.
yeah, I'll move all my code there. I'll make an announcement, and then everybody who
Oh, well, it
wants to
is
play can play.
Christmas.
All right, thank you very much, Joe. Thanks
Best
everybody for
best
listening.
Christmas gift ever.